ball knocked loose. White dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor.
They try to save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, laying. Got it. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here, along with Jake Eisenberg. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Jake, the first domino has fallen. Jrue Holiday to the Portland Trailblazers for Anfernee Simons and 2 second-round picks. Jake, I think Brad cooked here a little bit. How are we doing?
We are good. Good to see you. Hello, everybody. The offseason for the Boston Celtics has begun not 24 hours after the NBA Finals has been completed. It felt like, man, we know it's coming. We assume it's coming, but it's still, and especially the way that Brad Stevens operates, like, I just felt so underprepared to know how to feel about the trade because there's so many moving parts and so many tentacles. It's not just like back when we were trading for Derek White or Al Horford or whoever. It's like, how is this going to help the team win basketball games in the immediate future? Mm-hmm. And now it's like, okay, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? How much did we save in the tax? Is he expiring? Is he not expiring? There's just like so many different elements to whether or not it's a good or a bad trade, and if I should feel good or not feel good. Like, I know we've relitigated the Aaron Nesmith thing, but it's like at the time it was like no brainer. That guy's going to help us win basketball games. I'm very happy about this, and it's a totally different way of consuming these transactions because it's not just like we know we're trying to win the title next season.
Yeah, the Jrue acquisition was like the peak of the mountain. Like, yes, we've summited. This is the final step. The step, the Hillary step, is that what it's called? Fuck, my Everest knowledge is way off. But you know what I mean. Like the final ascent. Something like that. I don't know. Someone in the chat.
Hillary.
Call in, let us know. And now we're descending. Oxygen tanks depleted, hypoxia kicking in, delirium. We don't know what's going on. And suddenly we find ourselves in this scenario where we're acquiring Anfernee Simons. It's Simons, right? Not Simmons. And 2 second-round picks. Here are the details. Here are the facts. And then we'll get into the subjectivity of it. So the Celtics, they've reduced their payroll by $4.7 million. We've deduced the idea, eliminated the idea that, as far as the second apron and this season not concluding yet, as far as the end season date, whether or not there was this notion of getting under the second apron before the conclusion of the season, that's not a thing. So we're still $18 million over the second apron, but the Celtics have reduced their tax penalty by $41 million. Not bad. Billy C, obviously quite happy.
Welcome.
And those second round picks, one of them is a 2030 Knicks second rounder, the other is a 2031 Blazers second rounders. For all the second round pick nerds out there, Jake.
We can give us some more Jordan Walshes in here, some more Tremont Waters, Carson Edwardses, great players. So it's crazy, man. We've spent the last 12 months pretty much, in the Discord especially, coming up with fake Jrue Holiday trades, and I thought for sure we were going to get it like someone would have made it. Not a single person had an Anfernee Simons for Jrue Holiday trade on their bingo card, and some of the trades we kind of saw coming, kind of like the Jrue Holiday trade was obvious, Horford trade kind of obvious, but for the most part, Brad we do all this fake trade stuff, and it is fun, but God damn, this might be the most outlandish, surprising one yet. Because, no one had Anfernee Simons on their bingo card. That's for sure. And after digesting it, Ben, I think my takeaway is just flexibility is the name of the game for Brad Stevens. And this trade gives him that. And with Jrue Holiday going out the door, it's funny how so many people were man, that contract, Brad's not going to be able to get value for it. We're going to have to attach picks, etc., etc. At this point, we just have to assume, as if we already didn't assume, that Brad Stevens knows what he's doing, and that when he signed that Jrue Holiday trade deal extension, he knew that he was going to be able to get, at minimum, neutral value, and instead he gets like legitimately positive value. You get an expiring contract, a player that's entering their prime, who's legitimately good. He has concern, he's not a perfect player, obviously, and you also don't have to attach picks. You actually get 2 picks back. But the flexibility piece, to me, is the big part with this trade, because it's like we could wake up tomorrow and Simons is already on the move. So him on an expiring contract as a younger player, durable player, a lot of teams could definitely talk themselves into an Anfernee Simons. You can keep him, build up his value for them at the deadline. You can just let him expire. Or you could say, hey, actually not as bad of a defender as you think, and next thing you know, we're getting him on a nice extension and he helps us on the way to banner 19. There's just so many different ways that this can go. So when Brad Stevens goes to the negotiation table tomorrow morning for Anfernee Simons trades, Anfernee, not Anthony, apologies, just learning your name, brother, or learning your name properly.
Same.
He can have, he can come to those negotiations from a power of a point of leverage.
Yeah, we're running the highlights here on YouTube. Don't know if he's going to be a Celtic in a week.
Yeah,
we'll get to that, but he's definitely got some spicy highlights. And yeah, so a bunch to unpack there. I think firstly, just getting subjectively positive value, where I don't think anyone would have necessarily been surprised if we had to attach a second to move off Jrue Holiday's salary, especially to a non-contender. I was very much expecting, I don't know, a Lakers or a Timberwolves or someone just trying to
Mavericks.
peak, to summit the mountain themselves, to go back to that analogy. Yeah, the Mavericks to maybe they would give us, quote unquote, positive value back for Jrue Holiday, but to get positive value back and a 26-year-old, I don't know, prospect, for lack of a better term, who has not necessarily been in winning situations throughout his career, who was a career 39% three-point shooter, did dip in his three-point shooting percentage this season's past, but generally a fairly high efficiency scorer who can get his head down, get to the rim, do fantastic things offensively. We'll get to the lack of defense, but the fact that we got that, a 26-year-old prospect-ish player plus 2 second-round picks, Jake, is kind of insane, and it puts Brad Stevens in a position to sort of continue cooking here. And maybe that's a good place to get to. One of the follow-up tweets was from Adam Himmelsbach. Quote, a league source said the Celtics acquired Anfernee Simons, who is on an expiring deal because they like what he can bring to the roster, but added that they will, quote, remain engaged on all fronts.
They will indeed remain engaged on all fronts. And I've already made my favorite Anfernee Simons trade. I'm ready to go. Because we saved, $4.5 million in cap stuff, but $40 million in tax, as you said. But we're still $18 million away from getting under that second apron. Cameron Johnson of the Brooklyn Nets, who are looking to do their own mini rebuild. Well, not really a mini rebuild, a full rebuild. They just tanked. They've got their own pick next year. Are they looking for a younger type prospect? They already have Cam Thomas, and Anfernee Simons is kind of just like a Cam Thomas variant. I would say Anfernee Simons is definitely the more proven player of the two, but that's the type of archetype of player a team like the Nets who's rebuilding. Can we take a flyer on a player who is expiring, get him in here? It won't cost us much to get him. Cameron Johnson's kind of aging out. Do we send them our 28th overall pick, Anfernee Simons, get in Cameron Johnson, who definitely fits the Celtics style a little bit more than Anfernee Simons?
Well, yeah, especially because what's going on with Pritchard there, where surely Pritchard has earned his place in the pecking order. Jrue Holiday goes out, without looking at who's coming back. Peyton Pritchard and Pritchard stands alike are looking at that going, okay, Pritchard bumped up the depth chart here. And I think if Anfernee Simons were to stay, I would like to think Pritchard remains above Simons in the pecking order, but it does at least stimulate the conversation that we're having now, where it's okay, what are they looking at there? Because Simons has at least earned some sort of credibility such that he deserves playing time. And so for him to be playing behind Pritchard as well, I think is a little bit controversial. So maybe they do look to move him on. And Cam Johnson, just to finish the thought, adds a bit more balance back to the Celtics roster, I think.
It's a good point. That was definitely one of the takeaways, I think, from this trade. It's like, if anyone on the Celtics roster is currently annoyed, it's probably Peyton Pritchard, who just got his biggest role since his rookie season on the Celtics and won Sixth Man of the Year. Or maybe, Ben, do we go for the three-peat in the Sixth Man of the Year race? It was Brogdon, it was Pritchard, and next season, Peyton Pritchard moves into the starting role, and Anfernee Simons takes on, which is basically becoming the Boston Celtics player that comes off the bench and scores a lot of points award after winning back-to-back Sixth Man of the Year awards. Anfernee Simons, I think, can fill that role perfectly. He kind of ticks the traditional Sixth Man of the Year box, the Lou Williams box there that comes off the bench and gives you 15 to 20 a night and doesn't play that much defense. Because I do think that Pritchard's actually the more impactful player right now.
Yeah.
And we can talk about the defense for Anfernee Simons maybe now, but Pritchard
we should.
developed legitimately into a good defender this season. And that Magic series, I thought, was really eye-opening in that he was able to hold up in switches against Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. And Anfernee Simons is not that. He is one of the worst defenders in the NBA.
Yeah, so maybe walk us through that from your knowledge, why he's considered a bad defender, other than the fact that he's just light in the ass, to quote Charles Barkley, talking about a completely different player. I think it's clear with what we've seen from Peyton Pritchard and working with the Australians that Anfernee Simons, if he is to stay in Boston, needs to sidle up to the adjacent deadlifting platform to Peyton Pritchard and become less light in the ass and learn from Pritchard's ways, because Pritchard, huge ascension defensively in this past year despite his small stature. If Simons is to stay around, at least there's a precedent for sort of smaller, lighter guys finding their defensive way in that sense.
I mean, I think it would be silly for Celtics fans to not think that Anfernee Simons could improve defensively once he got into Boston, because typically players, they come here, they get better. Brad Stevens tends to know things that other people don't know. Derek White, iffy shooter. Next thing you know, one of the most prolific shooters in the NBA. Things tend to go pretty well for the Boston Celtics when Brad Stevens is at the helm. So it wouldn't surprise me a guy like Anfernee Simons in an environment that hasn't exactly prioritized defense. They were much better defensively this season, especially later in the year. So not strong. He's pretty skinny. Doesn't look like he plays with a lot of effort on that end, and dives on screens, all the normal stuff, right? Some of the numbers I had a look at, EPM on the defensive side of things. So in the most recent season, he was in the 12th percentile in defensive EPM. In the 23-24 season, he was in the first percentile, as in the worst possible. He was literally last in defensive EPM in the 23/24 season. So the statistics say that he's very, very bad. I will say that the people that are in the lower percentiles in these metrics tend to just be on the worst defenses, so they're kind of all dragged down by each other. Trey Murphy was in the 14th percentile this most recent season, and I think he's a much better defender than that. Obi Toppin was fourth last in the first percentile, and he contributed to a good Pacers defense in the playoffs. They made the finals. You can build a good defense around one bad defender. We saw that with Halliburton in this most recent run here, and this most recent season from January 21st to March 30th, 32-game sample size. The Blazers were 9th in defense, and Anfernee Simons played in all of but one. So 31 out of 32 games, and he was in a top 10 defense for a stretch of 30-plus games. I think if you get him to buy in with effort on this team, in this culture, I do think that he can. You can still have a quality defense, especially when if you're going to be surrounded by Jalen and Jason and Derek and those guys. And what he brings you on the other end is very, very prolific.
Yeah, especially like it's small sample size and recency bias, but definitely some difficulty from the Celtics perspective with like collapsing the defense and offensive penetration, and getting the defense to collapse and then like kick out and spray the ball around. Sort of Celticsy foundations that we just didn't see a lot of in the postseason. And I'm not saying that we've acquired Anfernee Simons to solve all of our postseason problems, but there was just like a crack your defender off the dribble, collapse the defense, kick it out sort of lethargy, I suppose, that we had in the postseason. So bringing someone with that skill set in is, I think, a step in the right direction. Offensively, people in the chat like saying Jrue's got a lot more musculature than Anfernee Simons. Jrue's told, like no comparison defensively. Definitely not saying that at all. If you prefer to have one player, CBA, second apron, be damned. I'm sure that we would be holding on to Jrue Holiday at this stage. Correct. But unfortunately, the direction we've had to go has been dictated by the second apron and the new CBA. And I think the thing to celebrate here, like we kind of touched on to begin with, Jake, is the fact that Brad Stevens brought back any value and arguably positive value as a result of having his hand forced. And Anfernee Simons, whether he is of value to another team in the very, very near future, and I've got Twitter open in case it happens, like the next few minutes, or to the Celtics, it's a good acquisition under the circumstances for Brad Stevens.
Yeah, man, that's going back to what I said earlier. It's especially with Tatum out next season. It's like winning the title doesn't feel that possible, but I don't know, as more Achilles keep snapping, the Eastern Conference gets more wide open, and now the idea of like, I don't know, Derek, Pritchard, Jalen, Hauser, Cornette as your starting five, Horford off the bench, big man that you draft, and Anfernee Simons as your sixth man, Baylor Shireman minutes, etc. Like, you're probably like a fifth or a sixth seed, and then the Jason Tatum comes back in February, March, and it's like, I would not want to be playing that team in the NBA playoffs. So again, it gives us optionality and flexibility to do a bunch of different things here. But offensively, don't get it twisted. Like flip it around the other side here. Anfernee Simons, offensive estimated plus minus. He was in the 90th percentile in this most recent season and the 94th percentile in the previous season. Like, he is, as bad as he is defensively, he's just as good offensively. Like, all the pull-up three stuff that Tatum does, Anfernee gives you all of that. He shot 34.7% on pull-up threes in this most recent season on 4 per game, putting him like in the upper echelon of pull-up three-point shooters. Catch and shoot 3-point shots. Like, he's elite. He was 38 on catch and shoot threes his most recent season, but 43% the year before, 39% the year before that, 48% on catch and shoot threes the year before that. Like, this guy, 3-level scorer, pick and roll numbers. Like, he was a better pick and roll points per possession guy than Tatum, only just like 0.99 versus Tatum 0.95, but can get to the rim, athletic. People have been talking about how I want to see this Celtics team get younger and have more juice. This dude is like, he'll throw down left hand, right hand dunks. He can get into the lane and really slash as well. Like, 3-level scorer, can pass the ball. He can be on and off the ball. Like, he will be able to really, really impact the ball on the offensive end.
Yeah, very intrigued to see what he might look like in a revitalized Missoula Ball scenario as well. There was some theorizing on, like, not, uncredentialed people on Twitter, reporters. I think Keith Smith was one of them, saying that he thinks the Celtics are going to play at a much higher, faster pace this year. And Anfernee Simons, if he does stick around, obviously contributes to that. He's just such a lethal weapon offensively. That's exciting. I don't know, like, if you've ever used Cleaning the Glass, the way that they visualize like percentile rankings in terms of like how you compare to your peers. Gold is high percentile, blue is low percentile, and Anfernee Simons' offensive stats, it's the page is golden.
Yeah.
And his defensive stats, the page is ice cold, ice blue, unfortunately. Yes. So very much coloring the picture of what we can expect in terms of on-court performance or lack thereof for Anfernee Simons. But again, the core point is the fact that Brad did cook and was able to bring back some form of positive value. And like, I think we can all rest assured, Jake, we could all be pretty confident that Brad Stevens
I would love
canvassed
to be Brad. Yeah, that'd be great.
Like, he surely canvassed the league and surely explored all positive possible opportunities, as any good GM would, or Pobo, whatever you want to call him, and obviously decided this was the best possible return for Jrue Holiday. But one of the follow-up tweets, we already hit the Himmelsbach one. Shams said shortly after the trade was announced, quote, "An extremely active offseason begins for the Celtics with the trade of Jrue Holiday, who played a critical role in Boston's 2024 NBA championship. The Celtics remain engaged in trade talks surrounding multiple key players on the rosters." This really gave me... I think I said tingles in my pingles in the Discord, Jake, where I was just like, ooh, that's quite spicy. Like, what's going to happen here? Clearly, almost everything is at play. Almost everything is on the table. So we're entering the speculative part of the podcast, Jake, where it's like, Anfernee Simons, will he stay? Will he go? If he does go, where will he go? And as part of what package?
Yeah, man. And like, there's a world, because like, you know, I expect Porzingis to be... I think that's what I've been thinking that Brad wants to do. I believe that Brad wants to keep Jaylen Brown, keep Derek White, and retool around them for the next version of what we just went through in the last 4 seasons, where we went to the finals, conference finals, won the title, won 61 games, and our team fell apart. Like, he's gearing up for that next 4-year run, and this is the beginning of it. By getting younger, getting like expiring deals here. So like, they can, instead of getting under the second apron, an option is just go into the, like, going back to what I just said about maybe they see what's happening in the East. By the time 3 weeks from now rolls around, they're like, oh no, Tatum's recovering really well. It's like, okay, we just go into the season with Simons, we go into the season with Porzingis, I didn't even mention him. We stay over the second apron, and we just try and win the title next year. And if it doesn't work, you let KP expire, you let Anfernee Simons expire, and you're not just under the aprons, you're under the tax. You're out of the luxury tax all of a sudden, because you're having like $57 million in expiring contracts come off your books. And then just retool from there. And all that's really happened to them is their 2032 pick has been frozen. But that next season where they're under the luxury tax is the beginning of unfreezing that pick. And so it's like, and then you just slowly build up. So year 1, you're out of the tax. That's the first of 3 years to get your pick unfrozen. The following year, you get a little bit closer. And then Brad Stevens has a choice to make. It's like, okay, we can unfreeze our pick, or I can make the 2028, 2029 version of the Jrue Holiday trade that's going to take us right back to contending. And then it's like, who cares if our 2032 pick's frozen? It's going to be at the end of the draft anyway. It just means you can't trade it. So you can be like, we can unfreeze it if we don't actually think we're that close, or if there are opportunities to push ourselves into where we were in 22, 23, 24, you just do it and you cop the 2032 frozen pick. It's, again, that optionality. There's just many paths. Brad Stevens can make some carbonara. Could he go with dumplings? Like, there's just so many ways. I was just watching MasterChef, you know, like a little creme brulee, a little tuna, you know, you name it. Brad Stevens can go for it.
I think the Bear season 4 like premieres any day now as well, fittingly. So yeah, nice. It is amazing to have options again after, like we said earlier, just like being at the summit of the mountain. What will be will be. Suddenly there is this maneuverability. I like what you're thinking there, as far as like just being poised to like sort of react to what the next year looks like with Tatum, and you know how potentially Simons looks, and maybe even potentially KP looks as well. The thing that does sort of fuck with me at night, Jake, is like just the agingness of like Derek White and Jaylen Brown as well. And you know, Derek White's in his early 30s, Jaylen Brown's in his late 20s. Like, you don't have a lot of maneuverability time-wise, and I might just be parroting for a certain cohort of our Discord as I say this, just devil's advocate. Shout out to Mac. But But it is a reasonable thought. I think it could be put more eloquently than some put it, but that is a reasonable anxiety to have.
No, both paths are, and it's not fun to say, obviously, there's no guarantees. Both paths are bets. I would like to bet on Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Derek White. I'm someone who thinks that Tatum's going to recover from the Achilles fine. I think that Jaylen Brown is going to be fine. I don't think that age 32 Derek White is old. I just don't think that that's an old player. I think we need to adjust how we're thinking about ages. Also, Alex Caruso was he's 31, I want to say. He's had way more injuries than someone like Derek White, and he just signed an extension to put him at $20 million per year. Yeah. He turns 32 next February. Mm-hmm. So 30, 31, 32, these are aren't old. That's still your prime. That's the back half of your prime. The amount of how many players that have won titles at that age, Tatum will be 29. That's the best year of his career potentially. When you're 29. Same with Jaylen Brown. So I'm not someone who thinks that is going to be stricken by age in the same way that other people do. Yeah. And Mac in the chat here, because Alex Caruso is surrounded by 20-year-olds. Totally. But there's so many ways to win a title. Look at that 21-22 Warriors team. The whole team was old. Otto Porter Jr., Nemanja Bjelica. There was a little sprinkle of youth. Andrew Wiggins was the 27-year-old. There was a Jordan Poole playing 15, 17 minutes off the bench. But the Otto Porter Jr.'s, the Draymond Green, the Steph Currys, Klay Thompsons, they were all old. And I wrote an article for Celtics blog. It's that's kind of what we're trying to thread the needle on. Can we secure our version of that title where Tatum, Jaylen, and Derek are our versions of Steph, Draymond, and Klay? And then you build in the rest of the rotation around them. You hit on a Jordan Poole or a Baylor Scheinman or a 28th overall pick this year. You flip Anfernee Simons into a Cam Johnson, or you get an Otto Porter Jr. or is it a Gary Trent Jr. off the veterans minimum scrap heap. That's how you build it. Yeah, I mean, you flip it on the other side. The Celtics were unbridled youth throughout that 2022 team, and they got fucked by the Warriors and their experience. And everybody was like, that youth for the Celtics didn't help them this time. So I feel like you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, no, you can't. And just for the record, I'm on team, keep Jaylen Brown, wait for Tatum to come back, keep Derek White. Derek White, it's going to be so interesting to see how he ages, because even when he runs, it feels like his toes are dragging on the floor. He does not lift his knees up very high. So yeah, he's he's a bit twitchy in terms of his first step, but he's not I think typically someone who relies on his athleticism that much. So I'm team hold on to the core and wait. No,
and post-Tatum Achilles, meniscus surgery for Jaylen Brown, and maybe I'm wrong and you're wrong, or somewhere I'm wrong about Derek White's aging, and this goes badly. But the flip side is you trade Jaylen Brown for the second overall pick, and Stephen Castle and Dylan Harper is closer to Anfernee Simons than he is to Anthony Edwards, and the team falls apart anyway. And I think it's more likely that Tatum is going to ask out in that scenario than asking out in the scenario. If the scenario is Jaylen Brown and Derek White don't age that well, I think it's less likely that Tatum asks out than in the scenario that you try for this youth movement and rebuild around Tatum and you kind of don't nail it. And Tatum's I don't care about any of these guys. I'm just going to leave. As opposed to these are my ride or die guys. I'm just going to stay. Steph Curry has stayed through the shit over the past kind of 3-4 years in Golden State.
Yeah, I mean 4 titles, whatever it is for Steph Curry, I would feel grounded by 4 titles or 3 even before 2022. It definitely helps. And it goes back to the luxury of being a fan under the Brad Stevens regime is if they do go that youth movement, if they do make a trade for Dylan Harper or the number 2 pick or whatever it might be and move off Derek White or Jaylen Brown, I'll know in my heart it's because Brad Stevens has talked to Jason Tatum, has done all the due diligence, and they know that is the move holistically for the organization. So while I don't want that to happen, I'll sleep easier if that does happen, because I'll have total confidence that is the right move, because I trust in Brad Stevens. Will you feel will you be able to resign yourself to that if that does happen?
No, that's like maybe the biggest takeaway of them all today is like, we're in such good hands. We're in such good hands. Like, you can quibble with the impact of Anfernee Simons because of the defense or the offense, whatever side you're on. Unanimously across Twitter was Brad Stevens got more value than people thought again, and gave themselves optionality that I've been talking about in so many different ways, which is exactly what they needed to do. So you're absolutely right. Is that Celtics fans? They're like, my dad is kind of like, fake trade stuff. I know Riven's in the chat here before was like, I'm just going to let Brad do his thing. In Brad Stevens, we trust is a thing, because look at the track record now. He consistently makes moves that have helped us either win basketball games or move the roster and the salary cap forward in a way that is like, God damn, this fucking guy is smart. Or Mike Zarin, like, these guys are just a step ahead of 28 other teams.
If we didn't have a pod, I'd be like, I'm just going to check in a week and see what Brad did, and just like completely subscribe to that and make that like my new thing going forward. But, we're here to react live, ideally to anything that does or doesn't happen. Plenty of speculation that could offer me the most fun thing to have conjecture over. Before we move on to like Vale, Jrue Holiday, that's an important part of this pod. Anything else on the trade or any of the implications from the trade that we haven't gotten to?
I've just got a few notes here. He was ranked 87th in the Ringer's top 100. Obviously not the be-all, end-all list. But I thought this was interesting, the little tagline. A walking bucket still searching for his place in the basketball universe. Mm-hmm. It would be very on brand for Brad Stevens to just have plucked this guy out of obscurity and turn him into the next great Celtic.
Yeah,
I thought that was interesting. He doesn't feel very Celticsy to me. Like, he kind of gives me Malcolm Brogdon vibes in that, like, he's a stepping stone. You're going to come in. He's probably going to be relatively helpful. Brogdon was great for us, as I said. Another Sixth Man of the Year maybe coming in. And then Brogdon turns into Jrue Holiday. Is Anfernee Simons just like that little stopgap? Same thing. It's like you bring in that $20 million salary. You build up his value. Boom, you trade him for Jrue Holiday, and now I think Malcolm Brogdon's on the Wizards. I have no idea. I don't even know.
Yeah, he is. With Marcus Smart and Chris Middleton.
It's crazy.
The NBA graveyard.
Crazy. I don't know. And then I guess, like, what percentage chance do you think there is that Anfernee Simons is on the Celtics for this season?
Well, you polled the Twitterverse, right? What was the percentage outcome?
Well, that was for the 26-27 season. So and the percentage outcome for that one was like 70% no, 30% yes.
Yeah, I voted no.
I think for next season, I think it's actually, I would have it similar. I don't think that Simons is going to be on this team when we start the 25-26 season, and almost certainly not the 26-27 season. But I would not surprise me if draft night or before, or on my birthday, July 1st, when the moratorium opens, is Brad Stevens often has a gift for me, and maybe it comes in the shape of an Anfernee Simons trade this year.
Yeah, I think he's just in the trade washing machine now. He's just in the tumble dryer. Like, anything could happen, and he could be spat out as a nice, clean, pressed, wrinkle-free, ready to wear, iron-free shirt. Let's move on from that, whatever that was. It does make me somewhat interested in like Kristaps or like whatever happens at the center spot. If we are to hold on to Simons, like, you clearly need to anchor your defense, and so it's given me sort of renewed interest in the Euro tournament, FIBA, whatever it's called, in like what's going on with Kristaps. Like, is he our... Like, can we extend him on a lower salary? Are we going to hold on to him? Because he essentially has no outgoing value currently. So is his true value just a renewed, healed, recovered Kristaps? And anytime someone blows by Anfernee Simons in the next year or so, is it okay because Kristaps is waiting as the Latvian Moses that we knew him to be at some point? Remember when he came back?
Oh yeah,
Like initially, and he looked awesome.
bro. He was
Something
awesome
every day of my life.
the
Every
regular
day of
season
my life, I
ended.
think about it.
The gap between what Kristaps Porzingis did on the basketball court in March and what he did on the basketball court in the playoffs, it's hard to fathom the chasm between those two players. You mentioned Kristaps Porzingis' value. I have this thing from Brett Siegel here, Clutch Points Insider, whatever. Over the last week, so this is like in the article for the Jrue Holiday trade, the Celtics have been engaged in trade conversations with several teams regarding Porzingis. Sources said there are playoff contending teams in both the Eastern and Western Conference that have expressed interest in the 29-year-old stretch big man, despite the injury problems and mystery illnesses, plural, he battled in his 2 years with the Celtics. It does not appear that Boston will need to entice teams to take on Porzingis' remaining salary. Contrary to popular belief, there is a belief that the Celtics could hold on to their 28th pick in the 2025 draft. It's just another, like, Brad's going to do it again. Like, if you just get value for Porzingis, like that same guy, people were, like, begging him to tell them what teams, and he said New Orleans are interested. And
I saw that.
if he somehow pulls off Porzingis for Trey Murphy,
Or even Herb Jones.
either the Herb Jones ones makes a little more sense because of the salary savings, but
Yeah.
but again, then I don't know, maybe you get Trey Murphy and then that's a Derek White trade. I don't know. That would kind of make sense as well. There's again the tentacles, the optionality, the flexibility, but the value of KP and Jrue are not what some detractors or concern trolls thought that they were. They actually have value despite KP averaging 4.4 points in the New York Knicks series.
Like, is Brad Stevens yet to make the best trade of his life? Or have we seen it already? If I had to guess, like it's yet to come, right? Like he's going to hook up, right? Like he's going to make an even more incredible. He's a young man in the world of GMs. It's usually like elder men with their ties tied up tight and their neck like fat spilling over the tie knot. Like he's not there yet. He's got like years, decades even of spicy trades to come. So I think it's fair to assume the best Brad Stevens trade or maneuver is in our future, potentially in the next week or so, Jake.
The Brad Stevens Magnus Opus is yet to come. That's what he does. He lives for the thrill of making the next best deal that he can. If he's able to make a better trade than either the Derek White or the Al Horford trades, because the Jrue Holiday trade was obviously very impactful and good, but it was obvious. To make the Derek White trade in particular, one that was completely off the radar, that just hit so fucking hard. If he's able to even get close to that, if he's able to do better than that, I don't know how there's not already a statue, but build him multiple coach statue, GM statue.
I'll build one in Sydney if we don't get one in Boston. Believe me, I'll get on that. So let's wrap it up here. Vale, Jrue Holiday, obviously, like forever Boston Celtics champion, huge. We mentioned he was the summit of the mountain or the cherry on the sundae or whatever you want to call it. He brought it home for us, and especially in that 2024 season, because the 2025 season, the season just passed, like everyone had a fault or two where, like we've talked about it in hindsight, there were sort of some red flags throughout the season, and Jrue was definitely contributing to that, but particularly the championship season. Now this championship core has been broken up. The first domino has fallen, which is a sad realization. Like it is over in terms of whatever that was. And it was amazing. Fuck, it was good. But Jrue Holiday, Jake, just such an integral part of whatever that was.
Such a good player. 2024 playoff Jrue Holiday was a demon.
We have a clip.
I you know what, as you were talking, I went to go upload the clip and
Way ahead of you.
Way ahead of me. But he was so good. I mean, the shooting 60% from the corners was just like such a fun thing that happened. Like every time it went to the corner, you just sitting there with your arm in the air being like, that one's going in. They're all going in.
What was the celebration? This business?
The little T.
Okay.
The Dr. Evil we didn't quite get too many of those, sadly, in the following season. But game 2 in the finals, he had like 28. Like he was just perfect. He was everything that his reputation said that he was, and his reputation that got him traded again at this age on that contract. Everything that the reputation said he was happened in Boston. Like I was kind of he's just Marcus Smart with better public relations, and I think it's safe to say that he's just better Marcus Smart, as much as that hurt to kind of admit. He was flawless pretty much for the 2024 playoffs.
Yeah, I'll never forget the anxiety-curing offensive rebounds in Game 5, where when that game just like slowed down. I can't imagine what that was like for neutral fans, where it was just like brick city, and Jrue Holiday was just generating extra possession after extra possession. And then you said that Game 2, like early on in that final series against the Mavs, like Jrue Holiday was getting Finals MVP talk and gassed up in that sense as well. And then obviously throughout the season, and then off the court as well, by all accounts, just an incredible dude in the community, in the locker room. He had that, I'll say poorly researched from my perspective. I don't have the details, but the joint venture with Jaylen Brown as far as like propagating businesses and startups in the local community, and numerous charitable pursuits, and just a good dude. I think won Teammate of the Year or something along those lines, at least one of the 2 years that he was here. There's that like infamous photo of Brad Stevens like just gushing with enthusiasm, staring at Jrue Holiday at the podium after just acquiring him through trade as well. There's just on the court, off the court, in such a small period of time, like essentially less than 2 calendar years, just so much to derive positively from Jrue Holiday's presence as a Celtic. Obviously not bordering on like number retirement, but in terms of like a short stay versus impact ratio, incredible in favor of the impact there for Jrue Holiday. So love that guy. I will always consider him a valued Celtic.
Yeah, man, absolute legend. Like clearly everybody loved him. Baylor Scheinman, when he was on the Garden Report recently, was like, if Jrue leaves, I'm going to be really sad. Like funny, solid dude. Yeah, man, like the team got worse today. Like we're excited because we understand the realities of the salary cap on top of the Tatum Achilles injury. But like I thought he had an underrated season and playoffs. Like he got injured in that Magic series, but I still thought defensively he was awesome. He shot 37% from 3 in the playoffs. I thought that he was kind of ramping up. It didn't quite eventuate. You did remind me, because someone, I forget who put it in the Discord, so apologies, but the Brad Stevens, my dad coined, no dickhead policy continues to flourish. Like Jrue Holiday fits that bill. Anfernee Simons won the NBA Cares Bob Lanier Community Assist Award winner in March. Like apparently just a good dude as well. And I know there was some drama between him and Brandon Ingram, baby mama stuff, and there was some celebration going on. Brandon Ingram hit a game winner in Anfernee Simons' face, or it may have been vice versa, and there was some good old fashioned drama there.
Right, division rival Brandon Ingram.
Yeah. So I'm not sure the exact details of that one, but yeah, I do think that Anfernee Simons appears to tick the no dickhead policy. So Brad Stevens, he has a type. Good dudes.
Yeah, well, look, no doubt we'll be back in a few hours' time talking about whatever the next trade is, now that we're getting into waking hours in the US there. But we will leave it there for now. We are going to be back later tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. with Ben Pfeiffer of Swish Theory, known college hoops and draft expert, also a Pacers fan, which kind of spices up that conversation a little bit. Spoonie's going to be joining us on that one, so jump in the chat, 8:30 p.m. tonight. US Eastern Standard Time. Fire off your draft takes. Wednesday night, we'll have our live draft stream / 2-year Welshie welcome party anniversary. Jake, Spoonie and Jake will be live all throughout the draft. Anything else on the upcoming streams, Jake?
No, I think that's it. I think I might actually start streaming some WNBA on playback. 'Cause we can do that as well.
Hell yeah.
Caitlin Clark. I'm realizing right now, Ben, that we didn't do a Prize Picks read.
Well, we'll do it tomorrow. We'll be back in less than 24 hours.
Yeah. I was like, we could do it right now. We can do it tomorrow. But
Too caught up in everything going on.
Exactly. We'll. But yeah, I think maybe some WNBA stuff now as the NBA season kind of winds down would be fun to get into.
For sure. I won't be on the draft stream Wednesday night. I'll be at my grandmother's funeral, who, like, just quickly, I have to shout out Grandma Connie Vallis. Died peacefully in her sleep, 95 years old, completely unexpected, no illness, no complications, just like went to sleep, tapped out. Quintessential grandma. I'm talking Spider-Man cake for my 4th birthday, Superman cake for my 5th birthday. And as you know, Jake, I lived in Thailand for a while as a kid. I went to an American school there. That's how I got into the NBA. And when she found out I was into the NBA, she sent me a box of 1993-94 Ultra Fleer basketball cards. Unfortunately, that was a Jordan-less season. But still, as an 8-year-old, that was just like the best possible present to receive. And like for her as an aging woman in like a pre-internet world to like find that, resource it in like the suburbs of Sydney and get it to me in Thailand, amazing. So had to give the shout out there. Brad Stevens, please make an incredible trade in my grandmother's honor. But I will be absent from the draft stream as a result of that. Jake, we're going to continue live over on Patreon now talking about the KD trade. Is that right?
That's right. Follow us over to Patreon. We're going to hit the KD to the Rockets trade. Shout out Grandma Vallis. Sounds like a legend. 95
Absolutely.
years. That's it's good stuff.
Yeah. Bittersweet.
Yeah, of course. You know, yeah. As someone that lost both grandmothers this year, it's great that they get to 87, 94, 95, but you know, it's still sad when
it is.
We lose these people. But shout out to the grandmothers out there.
Yeah, Vale, all the grandmothers, and Brad Stevens for making incredible trades in all of their honor, ideally in the next 24 hours while we're live on the internet. But yeah, appreciate that and appreciate the comments in the chat as well. And appreciate the Patreon subscribers who are going to catch us live in the next 5 minutes as we talk about the Kevin Durant trade and its implications on the Boston Celtics. That's going to do it, folks. Thank you so much for watching. Jake Eisenberg, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celts.